Good day, everyone. For today's session, we will discuss the next steps in the accounting cycle. Journal entries are posted to the ledger, preparation of the trial balance, and preparation of a worksheet. But we will not be discussing the whole procedures in the preparation of a worksheet because that requires your understanding in the preparation of adjusting entries. And we have a separate video lecture for adjusting entries. By the way, my name is Catherine Elguilla. I am a certified public accountant and also an accredited accounting teacher. Let us have a recap of the accounting cycle. We defined it as a series of chronological steps or procedures performed to accomplish the accounting process. And in the previous discussion, we discussed and explained the identification of accounting events. That's the step number one. And then step number two, analyzing the identified accounting transactions. And number three, recording the transactions in the journal. And as mentioned, we will be discussing journal entries are posted to the ledger, and that is step number four. And then step number five, preparation of a trial balance. And step number six, preparation of a worksheet. And again, as mentioned, we will not discuss the whole procedure in the preparation or the whole procedures in the preparation of a worksheet because that requires your understanding in the preparation of adjusting entries. And we have a separate video lecture for that. Okay. There are other steps in the accounting cycle. Step number 7, step number 8, 9, 10, and 11. And we have also another video lectures for these steps. Okay. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, step number 4, journal entries are posted to the ledger. And before we go directly to the posting of journal entries from the general journal or journal to the ledger, let us first define some important terms regarding step number 4. Okay, we have here ledger. What is a ledger? Ledger is an accounting book in which the accounts and the related amounts recorded in the journal are posted periodically. The account is sometimes used to take the place of the ledger, and I will be sharing with you how to do this the account later. And then ledger is also called the grouping of the entity's accounts. And you will also notice as we go on with our discussion that each account has its own record in the ledger. Every account in the ledger maintains the basic format of the T account but offers more information. And compared to a journal, a ledger summarizes information by account. Okay, how about general ledger? General ledger is the most basic form of ledger, and this is what we will use later. And ledger or general ledger, they are called books of final entry. Okay, another term, posting. It refers to the transferring of amounts from the journal to the appropriate accounts in the ledger. Okay, the term is posting. Okay, next. Procedures in posting. There are 4 procedures involved in posting of journal entries to the ledger. Okay, these are actually very simple steps or procedures. Okay, number 1, transfer the date of the transaction from the journal to the ledger. Number 2 is transfer the page number from the journal to the journal reference or JR. Number 3, post the debit figure from the journal as a debit figure in the ledger and the credit figure from the journal as a credit figure in the ledger. And number 4, enter the account number in the posting reference column of the journal once the figure has been posted to the ledger. And let me show you how this procedure is being done. Okay, let's start first with the transferring of date of transaction from the journal to the ledger. Okay, before you can transfer the date of the transaction from the journal to the ledger, you have to go back, of course, to the general journal. Okay, we have here a sample of general journal. This is the page 1 of general journal, wherein the first transaction for the month was posted. You have here the debit and the credit entries, as well as the explanation for these entries. Okay, and since we will be posting the transaction from the general journal to the general ledger, you have to be familiar with the format of the general ledger. Okay, the general ledger is actually somehow the same as the format of general journal. It's just that there is another column for our ledger. Okay, in our general ledger, we have here the account name, okay, the account name, which is cash, and the account number 1110. Okay, so I will only be sharing with you or showing you the accounts affected in our journal entries or affected by the journal entries, by the sample journal entries in our general journal. So we have here cash, and then we also have here Benji Limhoco Capital, the account number, which is 310, the same format. You have the date, the particulars or explanation, the JR or journal reference, the debit, the credit, and the balance columns. Okay, the first transaction or the first step is to transfer the date. Since the date of the transaction is October 1, 2023, so we will just encode or type 2023 October 1 in our cash account ledger, as well as in our Benji Limhoco Capital account 2023 October 1. Next procedure is to transfer the page number from the journal to the journal reference. Okay, since we are using the first page of the general journal, that will be our journal reference. Okay, this is again the sample general journal with journal entries and our general ledger for account cash, and account Benjalim Hoko Capital. Previously, we transferred the date here to our cash account and Benjamin Hoko Capital, and based on our step number 2 or procedure number 2, transfer the page number. Since this is page 1, so under the JR, we will also type or encode or write J-1 or journal 1 or GJ1. Okay, same with our Benji Limhoco Capital, we also type or write J-1 or GJ1. Okay. Next procedure is to post the debit figure from the journal as a debit figure in the ledger and the credit figure from the journal as a credit figure in the ledger. Okay, you have here again a sample journal. Okay, this is page 1, our general ledger for cash account and our Benji Limhoco Capital account. We did this transferring of date. Okay, we have here the date for cash and capital accounts, and also the journal reference, which is J-1 or GJ-1. Okay, J-1 or GJ-1. And at this point, we will be transferring the figure. Since this is 150,000 debit, then we will also type here 150,000 as debit under cash account. And also Benjalim Hoko Capital, credit 150,000. This is Benjalim Hoko Capital. Okay, we will type or write 150,000. And before that, we should first get the balance after we have encoded the debit or the credit balance of a particular account. Okay, in the cash account, since the debit is 150,000, definitely the balance will also be 150,000. Then let's go back to Benjamin Hoko. This is a credit balance 150,000. We also get the ending balance, which is 150,000. So this is how you post the debit figure from the journal to the ledger. If the amount is a debit amount in the general journal, that should also be your approach when you transfer the amount to the ledger. So in that case, also a debit entry. Okay, cash is a debit in our journal. This will also be a debit in our general ledger. Same with our capital account, Benjalim Hoko. This is a credit entry. So we'll also transfer it as a credit entry in our Benjalim Hoko capital account, in our ledger. And don't forget to get the balance or the running balance. Okay, so what's next? I also included here the particulars or explanation. So we will be guided. What is the transaction all about? Okay, so you don't have to go back to J-1 to look for the explanation. So we need to, or we are recommended to put or write an explanation about this particular transaction. Okay. Next is to enter the account number and the posting reference column of the journal once the figure has been posted to the ledger. Again, this is our general journal and this is page 1. We are done with our general ledger, the posting of General Journal, page 1 transaction, October 1 transaction. Okay, so after posting, okay, since this is 1110, okay, so we have here under the posting reference 1110 and then 310 for Benji Limhoco Capital. So that's how we transfer the amounts and the accounts from the journal to the ledger. And this is the complete journal entries for the month of October 2023 after posting to the ledger. Okay. Okay, this is the page 1. So we only have an example, or we had an example based on this transaction, and I only lifted the first transaction, this one. Okay. But I will be sharing with you the complete transactions for the month, and this is how the page 1 of General Journal looks like after journalizing all the transactions and after posting journal entries to the ledger. So you will notice that the PR column is already filled up, okay, for page 1. Same with our page 2. Okay, the PR column is already or is also filled up. Page 3, the same. Okay, I was not able to fill up page 3, but you have to fill it out because posting of journal entries to the ledger was already completed. Okay. Next, this is the general ledger after posting of journal entries. Okay, we have in the previous slide the journal entries for the month, and this is how the general ledger for each account looks like after we posted all the general journal transactions or journal entries. Okay, each account, okay, particularly cash account, okay, we have here an entry. Okay, so at the end of the month, you can determine the ending balance. Okay, this is for cash account, accounts receivable, notes receivable, office supplies, what else? Office furnitures and fixtures, repair equipment, accounts payable, notes payable, Benjilimhoco capital, service revenue, salaries expense, rent expense, utilities expense, and taxes and licenses. Okay. So our general ledger will show you this, okay? This account after posting all entries from the general journal. So after that, what's next? You can also use a T account to organize information by account because what we did in the previous slides, that's a formal way of posting journal entries. Okay? And you can also use a T account for that purpose. Okay? If this is how our general ledger looks like for a cash account, this is the T account version. Okay? So in the T account, literally, it looks like a T. Okay? In which on the left side of this T account, you have the debit entries as well as the date for each amount. And then right side, okay, the dates and of course the amounts. Okay, the difference is that you get the total debit entries, you get the total credit entries, and then you get the difference. Okay, since cash is an asset and the normal balance of an asset is a debit balance, and in here, the debit entry, the total debit is more than the credit entry. Therefore, the difference is a debit entry. Okay, 147,449.75. That's 225,750 minus 78,300.25. Your ending balance is 147,449.75. In our general ledger, you don't have to get the total debit and the total credit because every time there is a transaction affecting cash, you always get the running balance. So at the end of your last transaction, you can actually get the running balance. You don't have to get the total debit and the total credit. You can easily get the difference of the previous balance and your debit entry in this case to get for your ending balance. So this is our general ledger and this is our T account. Next is how to post transactions from general journal to the account. Remember, in our general journal, we have the entries, the debit and the credit entries. In the account, when you post transactions to the account, okay, you just draw a T and then you assign an account title for that. So let's say cash. Then you enter the debit entry, left side, October 1, 150,000, and then another T for Benji Limhoco Capital, that's October 1, 150,000. So what did you notice? We have a debit entry represented by the amount found in the cash account, left side 150,000, October 1, and then another entry, right side credit side, same day, same amount under Benji Limhoco Capital. So this is how you post transactions from general journal to the account. And it is easier to do, especially for students who will be required to prepare a trial balance without preparing a ledger. So you can use the account. Then last step for our session today, preparation of a trial balance. Okay, what is a trial balance? This is a list of all accounts with the respective debit or credit balances. And this is prepared to verify the equality of debits and credits in the ledger. These are steps in the preparation of a trial balance. Okay, there are only 3 steps. Number 1 is to list the account titles in the numerical order. Number 2 is obtain the account balance of each account from the ledger and enter the debit balances in the debit column and the credit balances in the credit column. Next is add the debit and credit columns and compare the totals. Okay, this is how we do the procedures enumerated in the previous slide. Number 1 is to list the account titles in numerical order. So we have here the account titles or account titles with balances, okay, as well as their account code. So you will arrange it ascending, okay, ascending order, in numerical order. We start with the lowest number, okay, cash. 1110 is assigned to cash up to down to taxes and licenses 550. Okay, so we already have account titles, but in the trial balance, we will not include the account codes or this number in our trial balance. Only the account description. Okay, so let's move on. Second procedure. Next procedure is obtain the account balance of each account from the ledger and enter the debit balances in the debit column and the credit balances in the credit column. We already have list of account titles with balances. We just need to transfer the balances, the ending balances from the ledger to our trial balance. Actually, this is an adjusted trial balance. Okay, we have here the debit column and the credit column. You will just copy whatever is the amount in your general ledger, your ending balance from your ledger. If you can still remember, the cash has an ending balance of 147,449.75, a debit balance. So you will do the same to other accounts, okay? So after that, what's next? After we have transfer the accounts and the amounts from the ledger to our unadjusted trial balance. Next procedure is to add the debit and credit columns and compare the totals. Okay, we have here again the list of accounts with their balance, either debit or credit. So we just need to add the debit column and credit column and see to it whether they have the same amount. Okay, based on our computation, the total debit balance is 327,500 pesos. Okay, that's 147,449.75 for our cash, down to our taxes and licenses 1,3. Okay, so if you will get the total of this debit column, you will arrive at 327,500. Is it the same for our credit column? Okay, let's check. 8,000 plus 60,000 plus 150 plus 109,500. Yes, you will also get the same total credit amount. Okay, so in this case, our debit and credit columns, they're equal. And don't forget to include your heading. Okay, you have the name of the company, the name of the report. This is the unadjusted trial balance and the period. Okay? Okay, next, we are now on step number 6, preparation of a worksheet. What is a worksheet? Worksheet simplifies the adjusting and closing entries, and it aids in the preparation of financial statements. We have here procedures in the preparation of a worksheet, but as mentioned in the previous slide or earlier, we will not do the whole procedures in the preparation of a worksheet because that requires your understanding in the adjusting entries, okay, in the preparation of adjusting entries, and we have a separate video lecture for that. And aside from that, okay, we'll do other steps, okay? So we will focus on step 1 or procedure 1 and procedure number 2. Okay, this is how your worksheet looks like. Okay, you have here the heading, the number, the count title. Okay, we have the title for each column, unadjusted trial balance, adjustments, okay, without an E. Okay, okay, adjusted trial balance, income statement, and balance sheet. You have the debit, credit columns. Okay, same with your other title. Okay, so what we will do is just to copy our unadjusted trial balance to this worksheet. Okay, so remember our total debit column is 327,500. Same with our credit column 327,500. So at this point, our discussion for the preparation of a worksheet is done. We will do the next procedure in the preparation of a worksheet when we do the adjustments. Okay, adjustments. Okay, ADJUST. So without E, so I forgot to delete it. So adjustment. So we'll do the adjustment or adjusting entries the next video lecture. Okay, so at this point, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. These are my references. Okay, once again, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thank you.